This is not a kid-friendly show.
Yo, what is really good, my dude? So this is a different style of video I'm going to try out for once. I'm not going to have anything interesting going on the screen, so you can just escape and listen to me rant and talk about whatever I have on my mind at the time. I don't really go over like my thoughts about the game updates, etc. I usually just bring you the news, and that's the extent of what goes on here on the channel. So thought I'd try something different and, incorporate something different. So hopefully you enjoy just me discussing what I think about what's going on right now, or what I have to talk about. So I want to talk about the unfinished business that Jagex has been talking about recently, this whole new movement where they're looking at actually delivering on a lot of the promises they talked about in the past, and what I think about it. So overall, I think it's a great thing. It's obviously really good to hear that they're finally like making word on, or fulfilling the promises that they've given out, if we can even call it promises. I know it feels like promises, but a lot of times they didn't really make them promises. They just talked about potential updates that may happen. For example, like, I don't know, like Rite of Passage, that Armadale quest. It was an idea thrown out, never was actually promised that that's something that's going to come at any given time. It was just ideas being thrown out, and people like really loved the idea and thought it was coming to the game. They're like, where's this, where's that? It was never said that it was going to come into the game, and I think a lot of times that's the scenario that Jagex has dug themselves into. They've created these really cool ideas that us players have become really passionate about, and when they don't come to fruition, we're like, what the fuck happened? I think that's their main problem. They need to just stop talking about stuff that's not even being worked on. And they've mentioned that in the most recent live stream. They need to stop saying stuff that's just pipe dreams and not things that are actively being developed, because it's put them in this very crazy predicament. And I mean, really good to see that's going to be stopping, and they're going to finally get to the stuff that they did talk about that never actually got developed. So overall, yeah, unfinished business, really glad to hear about that update. Sounds like, I mean, the community engagement that they've had so far after announcing unfinished business has ramped up a lot. So it looks like they're keeping good on their word, asking us what we want and what priorities we want. So overall, again, very glad to hear that this is the direction they're taking. Another thing I want to point out is a lot of people don't really understand the way Jagex works when they delay stuff. It's not like most game developers, where when they delay a video game from release, they need that extra time to work on the project. Now, sometimes, yes, that is the case here at Jagex. They need that extra time to work on things. Like, for example, Magister, I think, was a case where they needed that extra time to tweak out whatever they needed to tweak out, albeit it was kind of a failed update, to be quite honest. It's not worth the investment to get what you're going to get out of it. Hopefully that's just a fault on dual wield melee being not so desired, and they do something to buff that. But I mean, that's another tangent all on its own. Back to what I was saying about the way they work on delays. When things get delayed in Jagex, when they're making any update and it gets delayed, what happens is a lot of times the team that's working on that update that gets delayed actually shifts their focus on another update that somehow gained priority over what they were already working on. So it's not like they needed that extra time to develop whatever they were working on. They're not even working on it at all. They totally shifted onto something different. And I think that's a model that really needs to change. For example, mining and smithing, they got so far into it, and then, oh, we're currently not even working on it. That happens a lot. Whenever things get delayed and you're wondering what is taking so long, it's a lot of times they aren't even working on it. They have shifted gears, and a lot of people don't understand that's how Jagex works, because they have put themselves into this mode where they have to pump out so many updates like weekly, because that's just the nature of RuneScape, that they've always done that. So they're kind of like set in their ways of doing that. When things aren't able to be pushed out because they're working on bigger updates, they shift the team from those bigger updates to get to these other smaller projects just to get something out. Which I know a lot of people, including myself, wouldn't mind if they just didn't come out with something for a week, if that meant that they had more time to work on things that we really care about. So I really hope that is a change that comes to Jagex with this whole unfinished business thing that they've got going for them right now. Another thing that I think they really need to work on, which they have acknowledged in the stream, so I have semi-high hopes for them to do this and fulfill it to at least my expectations. But we need a faster turnaround on fixes. Like, that needs to 100% happen. When an update comes out and community's saying, yo, this is like dead content, this is overpowered, this is underpowered, whatever may have you, there needs to be action done ASAP. And they said they doubled the ninja team to work on things like this. So hopefully that is the case. Like, for example, when Magister came out, it is evident that the system is wonky and players are not happy with it. Not to say like every update needs this immediate reaction, but things do need to be looked at with much more urgency than previously. A lot of people talk about how you need 300 scraps or whatever for the blessings to upgrade the tier 92 melees for Magister, and how the different 3 blessings are virtually identical and essentially are no longer, like, they essentially don't really mean anything, because all you really need is 300 scraps to make a weapon, plus the Kopesh obviously. But having 3 different, that extra intermediate step where you need 3 different blessings that you can choose whichever blessing you want, so it actually gives leeway for accidentally making the wrong blessing twice, which would be really, really annoying. But what's the point of that intermediate step? Like, you can make 300 scraps be the requirement for making a Kopesh, and it would be virtually identical to the current system. It's like, that intermediate step just doesn't make sense. It adds nothing, and they're not tradable, so it adds nothing. Like, if they were tradable, it would make a little bit more sense, but they're not, so that intermediate step really does nothing. Things like that. Also things like Shattered Worlds. It's been, how long has this minigame been out, and people have been saying, yes, they do want to make it so the abilities take about 2 hours to achieve, which, thank God, as opposed to what, like 16 something hours it is now. And then the top tier Slayer Mask would take something like 4 hours. I'm completely fine with that, but I don't know how much balancing that takes, but I can't imagine it being that hard to do. It's probably just a matter of, it got, like I said previously, things get delayed and they're not being worked on. They said that with Menafos. That's probably why Menafos, they shifted a lot of things, delayed a lot of different projects, because the teams moved off of those projects onto Menafos, which is why the whole expansion thing and this whole new unfinished business came into place to replace the whole 3 expansions this year model, because it simply wasn't working. It was drawing way too much power or energy and resources from updates we do want, and focusing them on these expansions, which were relatively lackluster in general. Menafos is awesome and really nice visuals, etc. 120 Slayer is fine and dandy, could be fleshed out a little bit more, but it's not that bad of an update for the amount of energy it's taking away from other projects. Not worth it, in my personal opinion. You can give your thoughts if you want and you disagree, but I don't think it was worth not having things like Shadow Worlds being corrected, etc. Not to mention fucking Invention Batch 2. Like, my god. That's a whole nother fucking ball game, which should have been implemented a long time ago. But it's good to see that it is being worked on. They said they have most of the invention things that you can invent already completed. They just need some other like back-end stuff and other things to work on regarding the skill. But as far as like the new things we're going to be able to invent, those are mostly complete. So at least that is underway, and we're going to finally see that. But like I said, man, the turnaround of these things that community wants and they're not delivering, or they're delivering extremely late to where people no longer care all that much. It's like, come on. The turnaround is atrocious. And that's one of the biggest things, like I've been saying, that I hope comes with this whole unfinished business thing that they've got going on. I mean, I guess that's pretty much all I really want to rant about at this point. If you enjoy this kind of stuff where I kind of just give my thoughts on the updates and nothing really major happens on screen, it kind of just lets you listen as I go on and stuff, let me know down in the comments below if this kind of thing you like. and I will definitely be doing this on a regular basis and giving you my feedback on things that have been going on in the RuneScape community. No problem, just let me know down below. Anyways, I really appreciate you guys watching. Like it if you enjoyed it. And if you aren't subscribed yet, for some reason you happen to be watching this video, then there will be more on channel like this if this is what got you interested in the channel. But I mainly cover RuneScape news and keep my audience as up to date as I possibly can about what's going on in terms of the RuneScape game and Jagex as a company. So you can sub for that. Anyways, I appreciate you watching, my doggies. I am out. Peace.